really is a meeting place of the world's greatest minds in this sector. And one of those greatest minds, or great minds rather, is joining me now. He's Dr. Kandeh Yumkella from Sierra Leone. He's the CEO of Sustainable Energy for All. Now, Dr. Yumkella delivered the keynote speech at the opening of the conference yesterday and really gave such a touching account of his story. He was living in Vienna, Austria, arguably one of the most wonderful cities in the world to live in, serving on the UN for close to 20 years. But he knew that he needed to go home to Sierra Leone. He was getting increasingly distressed of stories of the broken infrastructure there. There was an Ebola outbreak, and he was hearing how doctors were having to treat patients using the light of their cell phones. And he just knew that he needed to go home and make a difference. Let's talk to him now. Dr. Yumkella, thank you so much for joining us. Listening to your speech yesterday, you're clearly passionate about energy in Africa. What's your view of the current situation on the continent?
The current situation is both good and bad. I talk about the bad side first. 620 million Africans without access to electricity. 700 million in all using firewood and charcoal for their primary energy needs. So that's not good. The good news is many African countries are beginning to actively reform their energy sector, recognizing finally that energy is at the core of their efforts for structural change, industrialization, wealth creation, and in fact effectively running social services, water, hospitals, and women empowerment.
One of the themes of your keynote address yesterday was partnership. Why do you think it's important for African companies to partner with Europeans, Indians, and the Chinese?
Partnership is crucial. Africa needs a minimum of $40 billion a year in investment in the energy sector over the next 15, 20 years. That's a lot of money. We don't have that locally. So we need to have strategic partnerships, and the role of government is to create good sector governance, rule of law, and in fact an environment and incentives that will attract both domestic and foreign investment. And some countries are doing it. Ethiopia raised 80% of the financing they needed for the Renaissance Dam internally. In other words, we have to put some skin in the game for others to want to invest. We have to have our own energy entrepreneurs as well. So it is urgent, and partnership is crucial. Partnership at the corporate level, but also intergovernmental partnership. Partnership with the EU, with China, with the United States Power Africa, and so on. It is very crucial. Those other governmental partnerships are important for building the capacity we need for policy formulation, project design, and in fact also designing of specific public policies that will ensure accountability in the sector and reform of the utilities.
Now, Dr. Yumkella, one of the hot topics at this year's conference is hydropower. Why is that, and how feasible is it for Africa?
It is feasible. We've developed less than 15% of Africa's hydropower. In OECD, 80% has already been done. It gives you some certainty of base load, and Africa has all these rivers. So first, we can learn from China. China has about 50,000 mini hydros. So it doesn't always have to be the big ones. But we need the big ones for cross-border energy trade. If you take my neighborhood, Mano River Union, our water table is Guinea. Guinea has high mountains with a lot of water, and the government of Guinea is investing heavily, but then you need interconnection. If you take the Grand Hinga, if the 4 countries along the route develop the Grand Hinga, they can sell to South Africa, which gives confidence for investors to invest, and they can draw power from that source, all those along the way. And the Congolese are better off. They get revenues in dollars, they get access to electricity, and the rest of Africa, and we know the power lines are also supposed to go west to Nigeria. So, but the important thing here is hydro integrated with other sources of energy. Remember yesterday we said 30% of the new oil and gas discoveries in the last 6 years were in Africa. So just think about a future where Tanzania and Mozambique combine through transmission line with the Congo, with geothermal also in Kenya, and go all the way to Rwanda. That's the future.